The rain was beating down on my windshield when Simone's words echoed in my head for the 1,000th time. "Pack your bags, Lorraine. Don't be dramatic. It's time you learned to survive on your own." My son had been dead for exactly 17 days. 17 days since I watched them lower Terrell into the ground. 17 days since I lost the only person who truly loved me in this world. And his wife, the woman he'd loved and provided for, stood in the doorway of what used to be my home and told me to get out. I was sitting in my 2009 Honda Civic in the parking lot of a Walmart, wrapped in the same black dress I'd worn to the funeral because I didn't have anywhere to change. The back seat was piled with garbage bags full of my clothes. That's all Simone gave me time to pack. Garbage bags. Like I was trash being taken to the curb. My hands were shaking as I held my phone. The battery was at 8%. I'd been charging it in the library during the day and trying to make it last through the night. I had $43 left to my name. My Social Security check wouldn't come for another 2 weeks. I was 68 years old and sleeping in my car. "Lord, give me strength," I whispered, wiping the tears that wouldn't stop falling. Through the rain-soaked window, I could see families walking into Walmart, laughing, holding their children's hands. I used to be one of those people. I used to have a home. I used to have my son. Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. Let me take you back to the beginning, so you understand how I ended up here. I raised Terrell by myself in South Memphis. His daddy left when Terrell was just 2 years old, and I never heard from him again. It was just me and my baby boy against the world. I worked 3 jobs sometimes, cleaning offices at night, doing hair on the weekends, and working the lunch shift at Ms. Betty's soul food restaurant on Beale Street. Terrell was my everything. That boy was smart as a whip. Even when we were living in that tiny apartment with the heating that barely worked, he'd be up late studying by flashlight because the electricity got cut off. He never complained. Never asked for things we couldn't afford. He just worked hard and promised me, "Mama, I'm gonna make it big one day. You won't have to work so hard anymore." And he did it. My baby got a full scholarship to Tennessee State, then got his MBA and started working in finance. By the time he was 35, he was making more money than I'd seen in my entire life. He bought a beautiful house in East Memphis, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a yard with real grass and flowers, and he brought me there to live with him. "Mama, this is your house too," he told me the day I moved in. "You raised me. You sacrificed everything. Now it's my turn to take care of you." I cried that day. Happy tears. I finally had a real home, a place where I could rest, where I didn't have to worry about making rent or keeping the lights on. That was 6 years ago. Then Terrell met Simone at some fancy corporate event. She was beautiful, I'll give her that. Tall, light-skinned, always dressed like she stepped out of a magazine. She worked in marketing for some big company. Terrell was smitten from day one. They got married after dating for only 8 months. I tried to be happy for my son, but something about Simone never sat right with me. The way she looked at me sometimes, like I was beneath her. The way she'd make little comments about the food I cooked or the way I talked. "Lorraine, we're having guests tonight," she'd say, not even calling me Mama like Terrell did. "Maybe you could eat in your room? I don't want to overwhelm them." Terrell would tell her that was wrong, that I was family. But Simone had a way of making him feel guilty. "Baby, I just want everything to be perfect. You know how important these clients are for your career." After they had the kids, Aiden and Chloe, things got worse. Simone acted like I was some kind of servant. "Watch the kids while I get my nails done." "The kitchen needs cleaning. Can you do the laundry? I'm too tired." But I didn't complain because I got to spend time with my grandbabies. Aiden had Terrell's smile, and little Chloe would crawl into my lap and call me Nana. They were my joy. Terrell worked long hours, traveled for business, and didn't see how Simone treated me when he wasn't around. Or maybe he did see it but didn't want to believe his wife could be cruel. I never told him the full truth because I didn't want to cause problems in his marriage. I just prayed and kept loving those babies. Then 3 weeks ago, everything changed. Terrell had been having headaches. Bad ones. He went to the doctor and they found something on the scan. A brain aneurysm. The doctor said he'd probably had it for years, just sitting there like a ticking time bomb. They scheduled surgery. Terrell was nervous but tried to stay positive. "Mama, I'll be fine," he told me the night before he went into the hospital. We were sitting on the back porch watching the fireflies. "The doctor says it's risky but necessary. When I wake up, first thing I'm gonna do is ask for your cornbread." I held his hand tight. "I'll make you a whole pan, baby. Extra butter. Just how you like it." "I love you, Mama. Thank you for everything you've done for me, for being there when nobody else was." "I love you too, Terrell. More than you'll ever know." That was the last real conversation I had with my son. The surgery went wrong. The doctor came out with that look on his face, the one that tells you everything before he even opens his mouth. There were complications. They tried everything, but Terrell didn't wake up. My son was gone at 39 years old. I don't remember much about the next few days. It was all a blur of tears and phone calls and people coming by with food I couldn't eat. The funeral was at First Baptist, the church where I'd taken Terrell every Sunday when he was growing up, the same church where he'd been baptized at 12. Simone played the grieving widow perfectly. Black dress, dark sunglasses, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. People hugged her and told her how strong she was. Meanwhile, I sat in the front pew, feeling like my heart had been ripped out of my chest. After we buried him, everyone came back to the house. Church ladies brought casseroles and fried chicken and cakes. Pastor Davis gave a beautiful speech about how Terrell was with Jesus now. But all I could think about was how empty the world felt without my baby boy. That night, after everyone left, Simone's mask came off. I was in the kitchen washing dishes when she walked in. Her heels clicked against the tile floor. "We need to talk, Lorraine." I turned around, drying my hands on a towel. "What is it, baby?" "Don't call me that." Her voice was cold. "I'm not your baby. Terrell was your baby, and he's gone now." The words hit me like a slap. "Simone, I know you're grieving." "Grieving? You think I'm grieving?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Terrell and I had problems, Lorraine. Serious problems. He spent all his time working or worrying about you. Our marriage was falling apart." I felt my stomach drop. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that now he's gone. Things are going to change around here." She crossed her arms. "This is my house. My name is on the deed too, and I don't need you here anymore." "But the kids—" "I'll hire a nanny, someone professional, not some old woman who can barely keep up." Tears started rolling down my face. "Simone, please. Terrell wanted me here. This was supposed to be my home." "Terrell's dead." She said it so casually, like she was talking about the weather. "And I'm done pretending to like you. I never wanted you here. You were always in the way, always watching me, always making me feel like I wasn't good enough for your precious son." "That's not true. I don't care what you think is true. I want you out." "Where am I supposed to go?" She shrugged. "That's not my problem. You've got your Social Security, don't you? Find an apartment." "Go to a shelter. I don't care. Just be gone by tomorrow morning." "Tomorrow? Simone, please, at least give me some time." "Tomorrow morning, Lorraine. Don't be dramatic. Pack your bags and learn to survive." She turned and walked out of the kitchen, her heels clicking away, leaving me standing there with my whole world falling apart for the second time in 1 week. I couldn't sleep that night. I just sat in my room, the room Terrell had set up for me with the nice queen bed and the dresser and the little TV. and cried until I couldn't cry anymore. I looked at pictures of Terrell as a baby, as a boy, as a man. My beautiful son. Gone. The next morning, I packed what I could into garbage bags. Simone didn't even come out of her room. The kids were at her mother's house, thank God. I couldn't have handled saying goodbye to Aiden and Chloe. I loaded my car and drove away from the only real home I'd had in decades. I had nowhere to go, no family left. My friends from the old neighborhood had either moved away or passed on. The church might have helped, but I was too ashamed to ask. So I drove to Walmart and parked in the back of the lot. That was 2 weeks ago. Living in your car is harder than you think. You can't sleep right because you're always worried someone will knock on the window. Your back starts hurting from the cramped position. You can't shower properly. I'd use the bathroom at the library or the gym to clean up as best I could. You can't cook, so you eat cheap food from the dollar menu that makes your stomach hurt. Every day I told myself things would get better. Every day I prayed. But hope was getting harder to hold on to. I spent my days at the public library, charging my phone and staying warm. I'd read books to pass the time or watch the young people on the computers, looking for jobs, living their lives. Nobody paid attention to an old woman in the corner. That's one thing about getting old. You become invisible. At night, I'd drive to different parking lots. Walmart, Target, the 24-hour gym, trying to stay safe, trying not to think about how I'd ended up here. Sometimes I'd drive past the house, my son's house, and see the lights on. I'd wonder if Simone ever thought about me. If the kids asked where Nana went? Probably not. Simone had probably already erased me from their lives, just like she'd erased me from the house. The rain stopped, but I was still crying in my car that night when my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, but I answered anyway. Maybe it was a job calling back. I'd applied to a few places, McDonald's, cleaning services, anywhere that might hire a 68-year-old woman with a bad back. Hello? Mrs. Williams? Lorraine Williams? Yes, this is she. This is Harold Green. I was your son Terrell's attorney. My heart started pounding. Yes, Mr. Green. I remember you from the funeral. I apologize for not reaching out sooner. There's been a lot to sort through regarding your son's estate. He paused. Mrs. Williams, are you somewhere we can talk privately? I looked around my car, at the garbage bags and the blankets, and the evidence of my new life. I'm private enough. What's this about? It's about your son's will and some provisions he made that I think you should know about. Can we meet tomorrow morning? It's rather important. Mr. Green? I don't have much money for lawyers. This won't cost you anything, Mrs. Williams. In fact, he paused again. Let's discuss this in person. Are you still at the house on Poplar Grove? The question felt like a knife. No, I'm staying elsewhere. I see. Well, can you meet me at my office tomorrow at 10? I'm downtown on Union Avenue. Yes, I can do that. Good. Mrs. Williams, I think you're going to want to hear what I have to say. Terrell was very thorough in his planning. Very thorough indeed. After we hung up, I sat there in the dark, my phone glowing in my hand. What could Terrell's lawyer possibly want to tell me? Simone had made it clear I wasn't welcome. She'd kicked me out like I was nothing. But something in Mr. Green's voice made my heart beat faster, something that sounded almost like hope. I pulled my blanket tighter around my shoulders and closed my eyes. Tomorrow, I'd find out what Terrell's lawyer wanted. Tonight, I'd try to sleep and dream of better days. I didn't know it yet, but my son, my sweet, thoughtful son, had left me one final gift. One final way of taking care of his mama. And Simone was about to find out that you don't mess with a mother's love. Not even from beyond the grave. I spent that night in the Walmart parking lot, barely sleeping, my mind racing with possibilities. What could Mr. Green possibly want to tell me? Every time I started to drift off, I'd jolt awake, checking the time on my phone. Finally, At 6 in the morning, I gave up on sleep. I used the bathroom at a nearby gas station to wash up as best I could. Changed into the one decent outfit I had left, a navy blue dress I'd worn to church back when I had a church to go to, and drove downtown to Union Avenue. I was 2 hours early, so I sat in my car outside the office building, watching people in business suits walk past with their coffee cups and briefcases. At exactly 9:50, I walked into the building. The receptionist smiled at me, a real smile, not the fake kind, and told me Mr. Green was expecting me. She led me down a hallway to a corner office with big windows overlooking the city. Harold Green stood up when I entered. He was a short black man in his 50s, with glasses and a kind face. "Mrs. Williams, thank you for coming. Please, sit down." I sat in one of the leather chairs across from his desk, my hands folded in my lap. "Mr. Green, I appreciate you calling me, but I have to be honest. I don't understand what this is about. Simone made it very clear that I'm not part of the family anymore." His eyebrows went up. "Simone said what?" "She kicked me out of the house, 2 days after we buried Terrell. Told me to pack my bags and learn to survive on my own." Mr. Green's face darkened. "Mrs. Williams, where have you been staying?" I looked down at my hands. The shame was heavy. "In my car." "In your—" He stopped, took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. "Mrs. Williams, your son specifically came to me 6 months ago to update his will. He wanted to make absolutely sure you were taken care of if anything happened to him." My heart started pounding. "What do you mean?" Mr. Green opened a folder on his desk and pulled out several documents. "Your son was a very smart man. He knew how to protect the people he loved. When he married Simone, the house went into both their names, yes. But Terrell had other assets. Significant assets." "I don't understand." "Terrell had a life insurance policy worth $2 million. He had investment accounts, retirement funds, and a trust fund he'd been building for years. Mrs. Williams, your son was worth approximately $9 million. The room started spinning. $9 million? Yes. And here's the important part. The part that Simone apparently doesn't know about. He leaned forward. "Terrell came to see me about 6 months ago. He was worried. He said things at home were changing, that Simone was becoming controlling and cold, especially toward you. He said she'd started talking about putting you in a nursing home." Tears filled my eyes. "He never told me that. He didn't want to worry you, but he wanted to protect you. So we set up what's called a secret trust clause. On paper, it looks like Simone inherits everything as the spouse. But hidden in the legal language is a clause that states if you are removed from the home or treated improperly, the entire estate, minus the house itself, transfers to you." I couldn't breathe. "What?" "Simone gets the house because her name is on the deed. But the $2 million life insurance policy? Yours. The investment account's worth $4 million? Yours. The cash savings of $1 million? Yours. The trust fund? Split between you and the grandchildren, with you as the trustee until they turn 25. He smiled. "Your son left you approximately $7 million, Mrs. Williams. And Simone just triggered the clause by kicking you out." I started crying. Not sad tears this time. Tears of shock, of relief, of knowing my son had loved me enough to protect me even from the grave. "There's more," Mr. Green continued. "Terrell also left instructions that if this clause was triggered, you would have full visitation rights with the grandchildren, legally enforceable. And he left a letter. He asked me to give it to you if this situation ever arose." He handed me an envelope. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was Terrell's handwriting, the same handwriting I used to see on his homework when he was a boy. "Mama, if you're reading this, then something happened to me, and Simone showed her true colors. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry I let her treat you badly. I was trying to keep the peace, but I should have protected you better. I want you to know that you never have to worry about money again. You spent your whole life taking care of me. Now it's my turn to take care of you, even if I'm not there to do it in person. Use this money to live the life you deserve. Travel. Rest. Be happy. Spoil my kids the way you would have spoiled me if we'd had money back then. And Mama? Don't feel guilty about this. Simone will still have the house and her own career. She'll be fine. But you've earned every penny of this. You worked 3 jobs to raise me. You sacrificed everything. This is your reward. I love you forever, Terrell. I sobbed in that office for 10 minutes straight while Mr. Green sat quietly, letting me grieve and process and feel everything at once. Finally, I wiped my eyes. What happens now? Now, I file the paperwork to execute the trust clause. Simone will be notified. The funds will be transferred to accounts in your name. The life insurance company has already been contacted. They were waiting for me to locate you. He paused. Mrs. Williams, there's going to be a fight. Simone will contest this. We'll likely end up in court. I don't want to fight. I know. But your son wanted this for you. And legally, it's airtight. Terrell made sure of that. He documented everything, including instances of Simone's mistreatment of you. He kept a journal. He did? Mr. Green nodded. He brought it to me as evidence when we set up the trust clause. Every time Simone said something cruel to you, every time she excluded you, every time she tried to push you out, he wrote it down. He knew she might try something like this. My baby boy. Even when I thought he wasn't paying attention, he'd been watching. He'd been protecting me. There's one more thing, Mr. Green said. Do you have somewhere to stay while we sort this out? Because I can arrange for a hotel. Actually, a voice came from the doorway. She can stay with me. I turned around. Standing there was Deacon James from First Baptist, along with Sister Patricia and Sister Gloria, 3 people from the church I'd attended for 40 years before Simone stopped me from going. We heard you might need some help, Deacon James said, walking into the office. Pastor Davis called us last night. Said Mr. Green had reached out to him trying to locate you. When we heard you were living in your car... Sister Patricia's voice broke. Lorraine, why didn't you come to us? I was ashamed. Ashamed? Sister Gloria pulled me into a hug. Baby, there's no shame in needing help. You've helped half the congregation over the years. It's time we returned the favor. They took me home, to Sister Patricia's house, and gave me a real bed, a hot shower, and a home-cooked meal. It felt like heaven. 3 days later, Simone received the paperwork. Mr. Green called me that afternoon. She's livid. She's already called my office 6 times. She's hired a lawyer. She says you manipulated Terrell, that you poisoned him against her. That's not true. I know. And we have Terrell's journal to prove it. Mrs. Williams, are you ready for this fight? I thought about my son, about how hard he worked to protect me, about sleeping in my car in the Walmart parking lot, about Simone's cold voice telling me to pack my bags. Yes, I said. I'm ready. The court hearing was set for 2 weeks later. In that time, the church rallied around me. People I hadn't seen in months came by Sister Patricia's house with food, with clothes, with hugs and prayers. They'd heard what Simone had done, and they were angry. That girl never did sit right with me, Sister Gloria said. Too high and mighty, acting like she was better than everybody. Pastor Davis visited me personally. Lorraine, I want you to know that no matter what happens in that courtroom, you have a family here. You always have. The day of the hearing, I walked into the courthouse wearing a suit Sister Patricia had bought me. Deacon James and half the church choir were there for support. Mr. Green met me at the entrance, carrying boxes of documents. Simone was already inside with her lawyer, a sharp-looking white man in an expensive suit. She was dressed in all black again, playing the widow. When she saw me, her eyes went cold. The judge was a black woman in her 60s named Judge Harriet Monroe. She looked at the paperwork, then at both of us. This is a highly unusual case, she said. Mrs. Simone Williams, you're contesting the trust clause in your late husband's will? Simone's lawyer stood up. Yes, Your Honor. We believe the clause was added under duress and that Mrs. Lorraine Williams manipulated her son. Do you have evidence of this manipulation? Judge Monroe asked. Well, no, but... Then sit down. The judge looked at Mr. Green. Mr. Green, please present your evidence. For the next hour, Mr. Green laid it all out. Terrell's journal. Bank statements showing how much money Terrell had set aside specifically for me. Affidavits from church members who'd witnessed Simone's treatment of me. Even a video Terrell had recorded 6 months before his death, explaining why he was setting up the trust clause. In the video, my son looked tired but determined. I love my wife, he said to the camera, but I'm worried about my mother. Simone has been pushing to put Mama in a nursing home, saying she's too old to live with us. But Mama's only 68. She's healthy. She helps with the kids. The real reason is that Simone has never liked her. I've tried to fix it, but I can't. So I'm doing this to protect Mama. If something happens to me, I need to know she'll be okay. I cried watching that video. Half the courtroom cried with me. When it was Simone's turn, her lawyer tried to argue that I'd been a burden on the marriage, that Terrell was just being a dutiful son, that the money should go to his wife and children. Then Judge Monroe asked Simone a direct question. Mrs. Williams, did you remove your mother-in-law from the home 2 days after your husband's funeral? Simone hesitated. Yes, but she... Did you tell her to pack her bags and learn to survive? It wasn't like that. Did you know she was living in her car? Silence. Answer the question, Mrs. Williams. I didn't think it was my responsibility to... That's enough. Judge Monroe looked disgusted. Mr. Williams clearly laid out his wishes in a legally binding document. He protected his mother because he knew she would need protection. Mrs. Simone Williams, your actions triggered the trust clause. The estate will be distributed according to the terms Mr. Williams set forth. She banged her gavel. I won. Outside the courthouse, Simone tried to approach me. Her lawyer was gone, and she looked smaller somehow, defeated. Lorraine, please, can we talk? I stopped, looked at her. This woman who'd made my life miserable, who'd kicked me out of my home, who'd kept me from my grandchildren. What do you want, Simone? I was angry. I was grieving. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. You meant every word. You wanted me gone and you thought I had nowhere to go. You thought I was nothing. I stepped closer. But my son knew better. He knew what kind of person you really are, and he made sure I'd be okay. The kids ask about you. My heart ached. Then let me see them. The court says I have visitation rights. I know. She looked down. I never thought Terrell would do this. He did it because he loved me. Something you never understood. I walked away, surrounded by my church family, toward the life my son had given me. The money transferred within a week. $7 million. I couldn't even comprehend that much money. The first thing I did was buy a house. Not a mansion. I didn't need that. Just a nice 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood with a big backyard for when the grandkids visited. I furnished it simply, with comfortable furniture and pictures of Terrell everywhere. The second thing I did was set up college funds for Aiden and Chloe. Their daddy wanted them taken care of, and I'd make sure they were. The third thing I did was donate $100,000 to First Baptist Church. They'd saved me when I had nothing. Then I started living. Really living. I took a trip to Paris, something I'd always dreamed about. I bought myself nice clothes. I got my hair done every week. I took cooking classes just for fun. I volunteered at a homeless shelter because I knew what it felt like to have nothing. And every Saturday, Simone brought Aiden and Chloe to my house. The court had mandated it, but honestly, I think she was relieved. The kids would run into my arms, and we'd bake cookies and play in the yard, and I'd tell them stories about their daddy when he was little. "Nana, why did you go away?" Chloe asked me once. "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, baby. But I'm here now, and I'm never leaving you again." One Sunday, I was at church when Pastor Davis asked me to share my testimony. I stood up in front of the congregation, the same congregation that had saved me, and I told them everything. About losing Terrell, about living in my car, about my son's love reaching beyond the grave to protect me. "God works in mysterious ways," I said. "Even in our darkest moments, He has a plan. My son knew I'd need help, and He made sure I'd get it. That's love. That's what family really means." The church erupted in amens and hallelujahs. 6 months after the court hearing, I was sitting on my back porch watching the sunset when my phone rang. It was Simone. "Lorraine?" "Yes?" "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. Really sorry. You didn't deserve how I treated you. Terrell would be ashamed of me." I was quiet for a moment. "Yes, he would be. But he'd also want me to forgive you, so I'm trying." "Thank you." "And Lorraine? You're a good grandmother. The kids love you." "I love them too. They're all I have left of my son." After we hung up, I looked at the picture of Terrell on my porch table. "You did good, baby," I whispered. "You took care of your mama, just like you promised." The sunset was beautiful that evening, all oranges and purples and pinks spreading across the sky. I had a home. I had my grandchildren. I had peace. My son had given me one last gift: my dignity, my freedom, and the knowledge that I was loved. And that was worth more than $7 million. That was worth everything. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.